On the phone. I was gonna start my stream, and then I hopped on the phone really quick. My bad, it's my fault. Thank you so much for waiting. Thank you for your patience. I hope the audio will be okay. Last time when I did a stream and it wasn't in my place, and you guys were like, "Oh my God, Corgi, your audio is echoey." Blah 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 blah. It's because I had the microphone backwards. I had it backwards. So hopefully today it's gonna be a lot better. So that's why it sounded like shit last time. Oh gosh. All right, y'all. So I hope you guys are having a good day. Thanks for joining us. We're going to continue cross-examination of Jen McCabe. And I did scroll through, for some spoils to see who else is going to testify today. It seems like we have a whole crew of women that are going to be testifying for the state. But we're going to start with Jen McCabe's cross-examination. Depending on how the internet is, we'll see how long we last. And yeah, I don't know. I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you so much for joining me. We're just gonna hop on right to it. And then also, oh my God, hold on a second. Is that good? Wait, why is the chat? Why are you impeding on me? Who is this? I need to push you down a little bit. This camera is probably better than the camera that I use when I stream. This is my travel camera. Maybe I should start using this camera instead. For a second, I thought I missed a live. No, you're good. It's my fault. My bad. All right, y'all. How's the audio? Are we doing okay? Audio's good? Hi, Sean, Kiki, hello, Morton, Taxi, Fire, Commander, hello. Yeah, we got a big day today. Continuing the cross-examination of Jen McCabe. Oh boy, I can't wait till we get to the search history. But so far, my takeaway from Jen McCabe, and I don't have my notes here, unfortunately, so I'm going to have to pull this from memory. But takeaway from Jen McCabe's testimony yesterday that really stood out for the defense would be Jen McCabe, calling her sister around 6 a.m. in the morning. There were 2 phone calls that were placed. Apparently, she had like a 6 or 7 second phone call with them, but she was very adamant that none of the phone calls happened, even though the call record shows that the phone call happened. She said she didn't leave a voice message. And then I believe Jackson, the defense attorney, was trying to say that she deleted those calls. But when she made calls to her brother-in-law, Brian Albert, it showed that the phone call was never picked up, and that phone call was not deleted. Another thing that stood out was Jen McCabe saying that she was very adamant about Karen Reed saying, I hit him, in direct testimony when she was being questioned by Adam Lally. However, in cross-examination, Mr. Jackson was like, well, in your grand jury testimony, you didn't say Karen said, I hit him. And then he gives her all these transcripts, and she's like, well, they're not in these transcripts, but I know I said it. And so Mr. Jackson goes through 12 times when they talked about Karen Reed and her statements. And in those grand jury statements, Jen McCabe said, did she hit him? Did I hit him? Maybe I hit him. So there are a lot of variations of like question marks of whether or not if Karen Reed said she hit John O'Keefe, or she could have, she may have. So we'll see what happens in Mr. Lawley in redirect. It's possible that the defense could just be disingenuous, but I don't really see what's the point of doing that, because if you're trying to be disingenuous and then it gets caught on later on by the prosecution in redirect, the jury's just going to be like, oh, well, defense is just BSing. So I don't know if that would be a good strategy for them. I don't think they would be doing that. So, oh boy, no court tomorrow, only... Wait, what? What is this court schedule? Wait, can you guys tell me this court schedule? Okay, so there's no court tomorrow? We're not having a half day tomorrow? What about Friday? I heard next week we're not having a lot of court days. I think next week, the 27th Monday is a holiday. I think we're having court on Tuesday the 28th, but I think she said 29, 30, 31, no court days. Oh, is it a little bit too, Chris? Okay, if the audio seems fine, we'll go with that. I don't know how to change the crispness of it. I don't know how to make it softer and less crispy. Okay, so Friday is Friday gonna be a full day, or is Friday a half day? Hi, Daniela, how are you doing today? Hello, Renee, thank you so much for popping in my lives. I appreciate you being here. Hello, how's it going? All right, y'all, and then there was something else that stood out about Jen McCabe's cross-examination yesterday for the defense. Ooh, what was it again? It was, apparently when John O'Keefe was supposed to arrive at 34 Fairview, Jen McCabe, on the phone call records, it showed that she called him many times, I think a lot. And the defense was trying to say you deleted those calls, because in your cell extraction, it shows that you made all these phone calls to him, but then when we got your actual phone device, it shows that you deleted them. Or I don't know. Wait, Friday is a full day. Okay, all right. Gosh, what is this court schedule? So I actually will not be able to stream this weekend because I will be in Chicago. I'll be back next week, and next week, since we have like a pretty much barren court. We're not really gonna have what am I trying to say? Barren court days. That doesn't really sound right? Next week we barely have court. I think only next week we have Tuesday. I have to be careful where my camera's pointing. I'm in a hotel right now, and there are some boobs and butt cracks and butts on the walls, and there's a boobie over there. So I need to be careful where my camera's pointed, and hopefully nothing gets kicked around and stuff like that. Yes, she claimed it was 6 butt dials. Yes, that too. So, all right, we're going to continue the cross-examination. And again, I apologize. I didn't have my notes with me, so I was pulling that all from my head. But y'all, we're going to be listening to the cross-examination, and thanks for joining us.
My name is Giannetti. Good morning, Ms. Reed.
Good morning.
The county was kind enough to come in last night and make sure that the air conditioning was working. They were here late. They did a really terrific job, so I think everybody should be comfortable today. I do have to ask you those
I'm in a Vegas hotel.
same 3 questions. Were you all able to follow the instructions and refrain from discussing this case with anyone since we left yesterday? Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Were you also able to refrain from doing any? No.
Okay, we can forward through this. Jen McCabe returns. Oh, let me change my scenes really quick. Sorry about that. I'm a noob!
Jackson, whenever you are ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. McCabe, as a matter of housekeeping, I wanted to show you a quick set of documents that you saw yesterday, but I just want to make sure that we're talking about the same thing before the commissioner.
Sure.
Hi, Christine. Yes, in Vegas. Explains the
Can you
butts and the
just take a
balls.
look at that and tell me if that appears to be the same set of documents that we
No way. You guys think Brian Higgins is going to testify on Friday?
talked about yesterday that included group chats, for lack of better terms?
Yes.
Okay. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I would ask that this set of group chats is now going to be moved
Hi,
apart
Annie.
and moved to evidence.
Is there any objection?
No, Your Honor.
May I approach?
Yes. Exhibit 98 from Rutland. Does that cover more than what you covered yesterday?
Exact same document, I just failed to do it yesterday. My fault.
All right. So is there still more? I'm just curious if my form's different then.
Yours should be the exact same.
Why
Hey,
don't
positive
I take a
vibes.
look at the exhibit, please?
Holiday Inn. All right, we're going to skip through this.
This is, again, before you can consider any electronic communication in your deliberations, you must first find that it's more likely true than not that the person who authored
I can't wait for an expert to come here to authorize, or not authorize, to, what that I'm looking for. Not authorize, but to show that these text messages are real, that they were actually sent from the device, they weren't doctored in any way.
Back to 34 Fairview for the specific purpose of telling that officer something that you thought was important, correct?
Howdy.
Correct.
Which officer was that?
Michael Lank.
And about what time did you ask Officer Lank to join you back at 34 Fairview?
I'm not sure. I know it was in the AM. I'm just not sure.
Thank you. Authenticate. Thanks. Hold on a second. Am I getting double audio? Give me a second.
What time exactly?
Somewhere around 9 a.m. Does that sound about right?
Possibly.
Okay, so this literally we're talking about just a couple of hours after the incident in
Can you guys hear this? I think I was getting double audio earlier. Press 1 in chat if you can hear Jen McCabe testifying right now.
question.
Correct.
Okay. Sergeant Lank came with Sergeant Gallagher, I believe, correct?
Correct.
Came back to the location at 34 Fairview and gave you an opportunity to provide whatever information you deemed relevant at that
It sounds better now. Okay, yeah, way better. It was doing double audio. My bad, guys.
time to impart to him, correct?
Correct.
And isn't it true that at that time you didn't tell Sergeant Lank
Thank you.
that my client said I hit him? What you said was that my client said, I hope I didn't hit him, correct?
No.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Oh no, was this an Officer Lank's report too? Listen, I was thinking, okay, maybe one of the officers, Mr. Proctor, maybe he just had it wrong in his report, maybe he wrote it incorrectly, but if her statement is going to be written down incorrectly in 2 different reports, then maybe, Jen, maybe that is what you said at the scene, and maybe you just remembered incorrectly. Merry Christmas. Why is Merry Christmas on the screen?
An incident report associated with this case. I know you didn't draft it, but you recognize that that's an incident report from the police, Canton Police specifically.
Yes.
Could you turn to the tab that's the little light blue tab, maybe 3 pages from the end of that report?
Do, yes.
Okay, may I approach, Your Honor? Report you to tell him whatever it was that you thought was important, correct?
Was that a full report or is that just an excerpt from it?
Well-
That
I'm surprised the judge is allowing a lot of this back and forth. Usually judges are like, this is not a back and forth. Question, you answer.
paragraph.
That right there is a full report of that incident of Sergeant Lang going back to 34th Area. Would you agree?
Well, that's not a full report of what I said, but if that's his full report, it's his full report.
Okay. And in this report, what he writes that you said to him,
Hi, Toy Box. How are you doing today? Nicole, hello, hello. Moondog, what's up?
The objection sustained.
isn't it true that what you actually told Sergeant Lang when he returned is that while driving around with her and Roberts looking for the victim, Miss Reed said something to the effect of, quote, "I hope I didn't hit him," end quote. Isn't that what you told him?
Yes, because she said that when we were driving around.
And then you went on to say that, quote, she, Karen Reed, made these statements again at the scene when the victim was discovered, correct?
Correct.
And then you went on to say, she, Karen Reed, that you thought that Reed may have made these same statements in front of a police officer, but she was not sure, meaning you were not sure, correct?
I was not sure if she made what the police officers may have heard. That report is his recollection. My recollection is I told him that she said,
Also, when they were taken in, did they not have to write a statement as well? Because, I've been taken in by law enforcement before, and usually you have to write a statement, and then afterwards they'd, interview you. Does she not have a written statement about this? Because it would make sense if everyone heard Karen say, did I hit him? Did I hit him? Did I hit him? Maybe I hit him, whatever. That would make sense to me because, remember, law enforcement said they heard her say that, but it was like, well, why didn't your actions show that? Wouldn't you have taken her into the station and questioned her right away? Unless I'm remembering that incorrectly. But I could have sworn that paramedics, some of them heard different variations of that, and then one of the law enforcement heard that as well. But they let Karen Reed and Carrie Roberts leave the scene. It's possible, what if Karen said, oh, did I hit him? And then that's why at the time, at that moment, no one took it seriously, and that's why they didn't take her in? I don't know.
I hit him. And I told him that he should ask.
But the other thing is, she's not the only person that said, Karen said, I hit him. Like I said, there's different variations from paramedics who heard that as well. I don't know. What a conundrum.
Responders, if they heard that, because it was a great possibility that they heard it as well.
But none of that, you'll agree, you just read the report, none of that is in his report.
That's a very brief report.
I didn't ask you if it was brief, I asked you if it was in it, correct?
Correct.
And that's a report of a conversation that he had at 34th Fairview with you for the specific purpose of memorializing what you told him, correct?
Correct.
And
Snarky McCabe. I heard someone, or I saw someone in the chat wrote Jen McCabe and Matt McCabe. I was like, Matt?
what you told him, according to Sergeant Lang, is she said one phrase, I hope I didn't hit him, correct?
That's what's in the report.
All right. And again, this was 2.5, 3 hours after the incident, not 2.5 years later, correct?
Yeah, so law enforcement never said that. One officer kind of said she said it, but under cross-examination admitted he never heard it. Okay, that might have been, do you remember the name of that law enforcement? Was he the one that said that he heard it, but then didn't include it in the report, and that was brought out in cross-examination? That might have been what I was thinking of. Oh, but do I want to listen to all the law enforcement? I have my notes, I guess. I have my notes. I'll look at my notes.
Correct.
It was the bald guy?
Ms. McCabe, we talked yesterday about this unrecorded meeting that you had in front of Sergeant Lang's home on January 30th. Do you remember that conversation?
I remember the conversation, yes.
Have you had any other home visits with any other police officers involved in this case?
I went to drop off. It was not a visit. It was myself with Carrie Roberts dropping her daughter off. There was no involvement of Mike Blank on this day.
Have you been to the home, the personal residence of any other police officer involved in this case? Ever?
What's that in the background? What kind of music is Daoko? Is that like Japanese music?
Yes.
Tell me who?
Kevin Albert.
Who else?
I went to Elizabeth Proctor, the wife of Michael Proctor's house.
Who does Elizabeth Proctor live with?
Michael Proctor.
So you actually went to Michael Proctor's personal residence?
I did, yes.
That was in September of what year?
23. I went over.
23.
Yes.
Like half a year ago.
Why'd you go to Michael Proctor's house in September of 2023?
I met Elizabeth Proctor in approximately July or August of 2023. We are two mothers that are being viciously terrorized and harassed by social media. Things that were stated in this courtroom and allegations that were made have torn our lives upside down. We receive hate letters saying that they hope things.
Why? I know you want to give a narrative.
She gets to answer this, Mr. Jackson. The door's open.
Your Honor, she should answer the question why she went to the house as opposed to the narrative behind her motivation.
It sounds to me like she's explaining why she went to the house. The door was open, Mr. Jackson.
Go ahead.
We receive letters.
Mr. Jackson's like, make it quick.
We receive emails. We receive calls. People drive by our house. There was a rolling
This is not the answer that he wants.
rally outside of my house where people just screamed at us. They take pictures of our children. They took a picture of my daughter and put semen on it and said property of some named blogger that I think the defense is very familiar with. So that is why myself and Elizabeth Proctor got together. Michael Proctor was not home. We are two mothers trying to get through the unthinkable together.
So you were upset about the public outrage concerning your family's involvement in the death of John O'Keefe.
I was outraged because I am a state witness
Ooh, what a way to spin that.
that is being tortured because of lies.
Because of public outrage concerning your family's involvement in the death of a police officer, correct?
No, it's a social media witch hunt.
I see. So you decided that the best way for you to address that angst that you were feeling is to go to the lead investigator's home, personal home, in this case, correct?
I went to visit Elizabeth Proctor. Michael Proctor was not home.
So just like when you went to when you went to Sergeant Lang's house, and the only person you met with was his wife, when you went to Michael Proctor's house, your claim is the only person you met with was his wife.
I personally did not go to Mike Lang's. It was not Jen going to Michael Lang's. It was Kerry Roberts dropping her daughter off, and I happened to be in the car with her. Elizabeth Proctor I met with because we couldn't take the torture any longer.
And you were later asked about this unrecorded visit at Trooper Proctor's home by Massachusetts State Police, correct?
Can you remind me?
Sure. Did you have a conversation with
How long has the public gone after them? About like, what, a year or two now? Maybe
a trooper
more?
by the name of Tully, who interviewed you specifically about your contact with Michael Proctor?
Could I see the report to refresh my memory?
Do you not remember having a conversation with Trooper Tully?
I've had many conversations over the last 2 years.
Tully?
Over the last 2 years with a number of troopers.
Okay. All I'm asking you is,
I actually wonder if she's seen a lot of trials before, or if she's testified before, or what, because she does a very, I would say it's very out of character of a witness is testifying, asking for the report that the lawyer is referring to. I feel like that's like coming from like a more seasoned witness on the stand. Hi, lady.
I want to know, first of all, do you remember having a conversation about your relationship with Michael and Elizabeth Proctor with Trooper Tully?
I know I had a conversation with a trooper about it. I don't remember exactly which trooper.
Fair enough. May I approach?
Yes.
Have made that you had a conversation or an interview, formal interview, with Trooper Tully about your relationship with Elizabeth and Michael Proctor.
Yes.
And you told...
Oh, you're talking about Rex Heuermann. I heard they did a search of his house.
Actually, let me back up for a second. Okay. Was that somewhere in the vicinity of September, late September, early October, when you had that conversation?
Is there a date on it?
The bottom, tell me.
Well, the date stamp on the bottom is when it was, I'm assuming, entered into evidence. But
Right.
that doesn't say when the interview itself was.
Right. So if you'll agree with me, you know that you had the meeting with at Elizabeth and Michael Proctor's home sometime in September 2023, correct?
Correct.
If that's dated October of 2023, that's what I'm trying to get to. I don't know the date because it's not dated.
So I don't either.
So do you think it was between September and October?
It must have been.
Had to be, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Before I get to that, I've got a couple of other questions.
What else you got, Mr. Jackson?
After January 29th, 2022, correct?
I believe so.
Okay. Do you remember all the phone calls that you had with him?
No, I don't.
Would it refresh your recollection to take a look at a log of your phone calls?
Yes, that'd be great. Thank you.
May I approach?
Yeah. This morning.
And tell me tabs. You could look at those blue tabs and then tell me when you've taken a look at those.
Okay.
Which Brian Albert? Brian Albert Sr.?
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
Hey, Gemini.
You're welcome.
With Michael Proctor at some point on and after January 29th.
Yes.
Just to summarize those, and I don't want to belabor this, but
So these are phone calls with her and Michael Proctor?
there was a call on the 29th at 10:55 a.m. with Trooper Proctor, correct?
Correct.
There was a call on the 29th at 12:49 p.m., correct?
I didn't memorize them.
I understand. Would you?
So if you want to give me the paper back, then I could probably answer correctly.
You want to do
Okay.
it that way, we certainly can. May I?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, first call, January 29th, 10:55 a.m.
She's like, I don't trust you. Give me them papers back.
Trooper Proctor calls you for 1 minute and 17 seconds.
Correct.
Next tab, January 29th, 12:49 p.m. Trooper Proctor calls you for 1 minute and 8 seconds.
Shiro says
Correct.
January 30th at 9:51 a.m. You called Trooper Proctor, 4-second call, probably a voicemail or something.
Correct.
January 30th, a minute later, 9:52 a.m. You then called Trooper Proctor again, 21 minutes and 31 seconds for that call.
Correct.
January 30th, same day, 4:45 p.m. Trooper Proctor calls you, 9 minutes and 43 seconds.
Correct.
January 31st, the next day, at 11:51 a.m., you called Trooper Proctor for 2 minutes and 53 seconds.
Correct.
That is the sum of those call logs, correct?
Correct.
Do y'all remember when did they arrest Karen Reed? It was a couple days after, right?
Can I approach?
Yes.
These logs stop, correct?
I'd have to see my further call logs.
Do you believe that you've had additional phone calls with Trooper Proctor after that last call on the 31st?
I know I did in 2023.
Okay. In 2022, did you have additional phone calls with her?
I'm not sure. I'd have to look at phone records.
Oh, so that's the point that he was trying to make, that the calls all of a sudden stop. Because initially I was like, well, if there's phone calls between her and the lead investigator, that would make sense because she's like a major witness, lead investigator. But he's saying that like, oh, but these calls all of a sudden stop. Why?
Maybe approach briefly.
You guys ever watch that? You guys watch the newest season of Black Mirror? There's this one episode where the son finds out that his parents are like serial killers. I did get a little bit of a Rex Harriman vibes, but I'm not really super into that case, so I don't know anything about him, his wife. I think they have a daughter together as well.
I don't have the records in front of me. Maybe they'll be found before the end of our conversation. But in the meantime, for expedition, do you remember a call on February 14th with Trooper Proctor lasting about 17 minutes?
I don't know.
Do you remember a call on February 17th lasting about 2 minutes?
I don't know.
Do you remember a call on February 28th lasting about 2 minutes?
I don't recall. Again, it's hard.
I expect that your answer is going to be I don't recall, but I want to make a record if I could. So this is not a test of your memory at this point. I don't expect you to have it memorized. I just want to ask if maybe one of these stand out in mind. Or all of them.
Nicole, it's all good.
What about a second call on February 28th?
Usually if someone's writing in the chat and I could tell, we could usually tell if you're behind. It's all good, Nicole.
Lasting about a minute.
Don't recall.
On March 1st, another call with Trooper Proctor lasting about a minute.
I do not recall.
Apparently a second call on March 1st lasting about 2 minutes and a few seconds.
I don't recall.
On March 11th, another call in the afternoon lasting about 12 minutes.
I don't recall.
And finally,
Well, he doesn't have the paperwork in front of him to give her, so she doesn't want to say, oh, I did, if she doesn't have something to verify with.
call toward the end of March 29th, lasting about
Which
4
tells me either Lolly spent all of his time prepping only her and not really the rest of the witnesses. I mean, he must have prepped everyone else, or maybe he spent like a significant amount of time with her, or she's testified before, or she's watched trials before. I don't know. I feel like as a witness testifying in the stand, she seems a little bit more experienced than others that I've seen.
Again, I don't recall.
Okay. Understood that this is not a memory test, and I don't have the records in front of me, so I apologize about that. Based on the conversation that we've just had, does that jog your memory that you had multiple calls in February and March with Trooper Proctor, as well as the calls we've gone over with the records in January?
To be honest, I had calls with many people. I was in a state of shock for months following this. So if you have the record, I can answer off of that. But
Yeah, she
besides
wants the
that,
record.
just reading them to me does not jog my memory. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You wouldn't quarrel with the idea, I don't want to hold you to a number, you wouldn't quarrel with the idea that you had multiple calls with Trooper Proctor in January, in February, in March, correct?
Well, the ones I've just saw on the record, yes, there were multiple calls there.
And of course, you met him in your home on January 29th.
Yes, I did.
And he came into your
Well, all witnesses are supposed to get prepped by the prosecution,
living
especially if
room.
you're testifying for them. Same thing goes with the defense witnesses, right? You have to prep them for this. But I just wonder if he prepped with her more extensively than other people.
You had a conversation with him.
In my dining room, yes.
I'm sorry, your dining room.
Mm-hmm.
And also, Kerry Roberts was there.
Kerry Roberts was not there.
But it's also possible that she already has her defense systems like way up here. So that's why anything that's coming from the defense, she's not going to take them for their word of it. If they say something where she doesn't recall, she's going to be like, oh, well, can you show me the report then? And then when they give her the report, she's like, is this a full report or is this a redacted version or is this just a portion of it? It's like crazy. Yeah.
29th?
Kerry Roberts was not at my house on the 29th, no.
When was she at your house when she was interviewed?
I believe that was the Tuesday, whatever the date was.
Maybe first? That sound right? First or second?
Yeah, something. It was the Tuesday following.
Okay. And was that with Trooper Proctor or a different trooper?
A different trooper.
And with Trooper Proctor on the 29th, when he was interviewing you in your dining room, that was the day that Brian Albert was also there.
Correct.
And was Brian Albert also interviewed on that day?
I believe so.
So Trooper Proctor was in your house for...
Wouldn't it be great if they all came to the police station, got interviewed there instead, and then we could have had like footage? Actually, you know what? Maybe they wouldn't even have recordings at Canton Police Station. Or sorry, it's not even Canton, right? It's State Police. Would have been great if we had like recorded interviews of all this. That way, we could know exactly what was said. If Karen said, I hit him, or did I hit him, you know, instead of like all this like back and forth. Ugh.
Gosh, it had to have been an hour.
I'm not sure. After I interviewed, I went upstairs, and then my children started waking up, and I was tied upstairs for a while. I'm not sure when
Or body cam, exactly.
or how long he was there.
But your memory is clear that not only did you meet Trooper Proctor on that day, you had a full conversation with him. It was in your house, that was in your kitchen, in your dining room, and another witness was interviewed by Trooper Proctor in your home as well.
Correct.
And then you had multiple conversations with him in January on that day, the day after, and the day after that. You've already seen those records, correct?
Yes, correct.
Then in either September or October, you were interviewed by Lieutenant Tully. That's the report that you've already seen.
Correct.
And in that interview, you were asked specifically whether or not you had a relationship with Trooper Proctor and when that relationship started, correct?
Correct.
And you said, quote,
Relationship.
you had never met Elizabeth Proctor or Michael Proctor prior to September 2023, correct?
I did not say that.
So yet again, this is another example of a trooper completely getting it wrong. Is that right?
Objection.
Oh no, hold on. Which trooper was that? That was Tully, right?
Whether or not you had a relationship with Trooper Proctor and when that relationship started, correct?
Correct.
And you said, quote, you had never met Elizabeth Proctor or Michael Proctor prior to September 2023, correct?
I did not say that.
So yet again, this is another example of a trooper completely getting it wrong. Is that right?
Objection.
Sustained, ask it differently.
In your view, did Lieutenant Tully get your statement wrong that you had never met Trooper Proctor before September of 2023?
Objection.
Is that true or is that wrong?
Lieutenant Tully knew I met Proctor prior to that because Proctor was the one who did the initial interview on January 29th.
Does it make you wonder why he wrote in his statement, quote, you've
Objection,
never
Your
met Elizabeth Proctor or Michael Proctor prior to September 2023?
So the objection sustained.
If you indicated that you had never met Trooper Proctor before September of 2023, that would be
I mean, that's a weird one to me. That wouldn't make sense for her to lie about, because obviously Proctor's the one who's the lead investigator, and Proctor would have definitely had already interviewed her. It would be weird for her to lie about that.
false statement, correct?
Objection.
You can answer that, Ms. McCabe.
I met Proctor January 29th. It's
False
everywhere.
statement. If you said it, would it have been false? That's all I'm asking.
Yes.
Okay. I want to take you all the way back to 1:30, 1:45 a.m. when you left 34 Fairview on the 29th. After you dropped off the girls, where did you and Matt McCabe go?
We came home.
After you got home, you indicated that you went upstairs, correct?
Correct.
After you went upstairs, you indicated that you got on the phone.
Oh, we're getting to the search history? Hold on, let me get some water really quick. I'm not ready for this. I had a giant chicken sandwich, and it had a lot of bacon in it, so it was very salty. That's why I'm so thirsty right now. But it was delicious. What'd you guys eat for lunch for today?
Correct.
On your cell phone, correct?
Huh.
After you got on your cell phone,
All right, I'm
you
ready.
indicated that you started searching for stuff.
Correct.
So if there's GPS, that you've seen the forensic extraction or part of it, correct?
Which one are you referring to?
No, the forensic extraction of your phone.
I saw what you showed me yesterday from Celebrate.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
Right, part of it.
I saw, yeah, the phone calls, yes.
Okay. You're aware that that extraction shows that you got home after 2 a.m. or so, so that would be generally correct.
Correct.
The Celebrate extraction shows from your Apple Health data that you actually went up a set of stairs. That would be accurate, correct?
Accurate.
The Celebrate data shows that you actually logged into your phone. You log in either Face ID.
What? I salt died. I didn't even salt my ice cream. Like chocolate and sea salt, that type of thing?
Or a passcode, opened up the phone. That would be accurate.
Correct.
The Celebrate data shows that you were engaging with an app called Safari to engage some Google
Ew,
searches,
Safari.
correct?
Yes.
That would be generally accurate as well, correct?
Yes.
So after you opened up Safari, you indicated that you Google searched something about Ozone basketball. Is that right?
Yes.
That was sometime after 2 a.m., right?
Yes.
What was so important about Ozone basketball at 2 a.m. that it couldn't wait until the morning? Why did you search it then?
Well, first, I was home, I was wide awake, and I had been texting about a basketball chat, and basketball was clearly on my mind. My daughter had been invited to join a team. I didn't know much about the team, so I just was like Googling to see, because the woman who had given my daughter the offer had wanted an answer.
So you say that basketball was on your mind, correct?
Yes.
Was there anything else on your mind in that early morning hour time frame?
Don't believe so.
Ms. McCabe, if you wanted to know, in general, how long it takes for a human being to pass away because of exposure to extreme temperatures, right? If you wanted to know the answer to that, what would you Google search? What phrase would you use?
I'm not sure. All I recall is what the defendant asked me to Google in the morning.
If you wanted to know, I'm asking a different question.
Mm-hmm.
If you personally wanted to know, how long does it take for a person to die of exposure due to extreme temperatures, what would you put in? What phrase would you use?
How long does it take to die in the snow?
Objection.
Sustained.
Well, we don't have to guess at the phrase that you would use if you wanted to know something about dying of hypothermia, do we? Did you actually Google searched it?
Objection.
Sustained. Ask that differently, please.
Did you, in fact, use a phrase to Google search how long it takes for someone to die of extreme temperatures?
I did in the morning at the request of your client.
Okay. And what phrase did you use?
I'm not sure.
Really?
Correct.
these side comments by the attorneys. Really? Mm-hmm. Of course you do.
I was.
2.5 years of this, you don't know the phrase that you used?
Objection, Your Honor.
There's so many lies and misconceptions on social media.
No question.
Oh, I apologize.
Okay.
Are you telling me
This is what the public has been getting at her about. She for sure knows what phrase they're talking about.
don't remember what Google search you put in?
Karen was screaming. My hands were shaking. And she was saying, Google hypothermia. How long does it take to die in the cold?
And what phrase did you put in your phone? I'm just asking you to say it.
Why don't you show me it?
You literally don't remember?
Again, she was screaming, Google hypothermia. How long does it take to die in the cold?
How about?
And I picked up my phone and I started Googling.
And you literally, to this day, right now, under oath, you're saying you don't remember that phrase that you used.
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that at her
Do you remember it or do you not, Ms. McCabe? That's a simple question.
that morning, I don't remember specifically what I Googled, but I do know what you've put out to the social media.
How about this? Hoss long to die in cold. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, it's been
Why
everywhere
does that sound so familiar?
because you've put it out in social media.
Well, I haven't put anything out in social media because I don't personally have social media.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, I feel like she didn't want to answer that because she didn't want to. She thought she was maybe giving him points. I think she should have just answered that, like, "Oh, how long does it die in the cold?" And then they can debate about when she actually searched that, right?
The boy did.
So if the world happens to know it, that's not on me, is it?
I guess not.
I guess not. Hoss long to die in cold is what you put in to the Google search, right?
If you say so.
Is there a reason that you don't want to admit to that?
Absolutely not.
It's a simple question, right?
No reason.
So say it. What Google search did you use?
Objection.
Sustained.
Oh my goodness. He wants
You
you
were
to
seeking
say
at some
it.
point to Google how long to die in the cold, correct?
Correct.
And you made a mistake and mistakenly typed Hoslong to die in cold, correct?
You could show me it. I'd appreciate it.
You later Google searched. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Does that appear to be an accurate page from a Celebrite extraction from your phone?
It does.
Okay. May I have that back? I'm sorry, may I approach?
Yes.
May I have that back for a second? Yes. Did you see the actual search phrase? Does
Yes.
that now refresh your recollection?
Yes.
But I'd like to have this marked as.
Is it hose long? Die in the snow?
Move to publish this, Your Honor.
Oh, yes! It's exactly what we want to look at.
Does this appear to be the document that was just marked as Exhibit 99?
Yes.
Um,
Got my glasses
I
on.
know it's a little bit small, Mr. Jason. You see this column,
Yes.
third column from the, actually, the fourth column from the left, some dates, some data, and then a Google search, correct?
Correct.
What does that Google search say?
Can't see.
How's long to die in cold?
Hose
Now,
long.
you indicate that you did that, you made that search
Hose long, die in the cold. Where's the time?
at 6:23 a.m., correct?
Correct.
And then you indicated that you did it again thereafter at 6:24, correct?
Correct.
6:24, you misspelled the phrase and you spelled it as follows: how long TI die in CIKD, correct?
Correct.
Now you claim that those two searches were at 6:23 and 6:24 a.m. respectively, correct?
Objection.
Phrase it differently.
Sure. You've indicated under direct examination that these two searches were at 6:23 and 6:24 a.m., right?
I don't know if I gave exact times, but I said it was in the morning and Karen had asked me to do it.
And you claimed that you searched because Karen was screaming at you and yelling at you, Google hypothermia, and you Googled how long does it take for a person to die. I'm sorry, she said something like how long does it take for a person to die of hypothermia, and you Google searched it at 6:23 and 6:24. Is that right?
Oh, there's a time
Again,
stamp.
I'm not sure about the exact times. I'm just
Wait, oh, they didn't show the timestamps when they zoomed in initially. Why? Who is the camera person? Why you do this to me?
did it after Karen asked me to do it.
Would you quarrel with the idea that those were about 30 seconds apart?
Okay.
And you're aware, Ms. McCabe, that both misspellings of that phrase result in the exact same search results, don't they?
I'm not aware of that, no.
Well, you Googled them, ma'am. You're looking on your phone and you Googled how long to die in cold and how long to die in CIKD. Both of those. You Googled them, right?
Karen
I
moved the
did,
watermark?
yes.
And they result in the exact same search results, don't they?
I have no idea.
So my question to you is, why the two searches?
She was standing next to me screaming, shaking my hand. My hand was cold. I was trying to Google it.
I want to see the timestamp of the other one.
Obviously, maybe whatever came up first didn't make sense because I had some misspellings, so I did it again.
So Hoslong to die in cold results in articles concerning dying of exposure, doesn't it?
We never got the chance to read it.
Well, you're the one, when you say we, who's we?
Karen and myself.
Well, you're the one holding the phone, Ms. McCabe.
Correct.
Oh my god, why are we not showing the other time? I want to see that one.
Looking down at your phone and you see exactly what comes up, correct?
I don't remember exactly what came up.
Well, what came up was something about dying of hypothermia, didn't it?
That's what she asked.
So why do it again? Why do it again, Ms. McCabe? You have the result. Why the second search?
I cannot answer that beyond telling you that my hands were frozen. She was shaking me and screaming at me.
When you see the time, can you scroll up, please?
I'm just impatient, that's
According
why.
to that,
Thank
the
you, it's
cell
coming.
phone
Okay.
data.
Oh, here it is. Okay, now we see it. 2:27:40. Hose long to die in the cold. Deleted. Yes.
You see this first search that says Hoslong to die in cold?
I do.
What's that time?
You've got the, it's right over at 2:27
AM or PM?
a.m.
Ms. McCabe, you made that search at 2:27 a.m. because you knew that John O'Keefe was outside in your sister's lawn dying in the cold, didn't you?
Absolutely not. I did not make that search at that time.
You
No.
realized the next morning, after John was discovered, after 6 a.m., that you had an incriminating search on your phone, didn't you?
Absolutely not.
To cover your tracks, you searched it again in order to overwrite the original search at 2:27, correct?
Again, absolutely not.
But you were nervous and you screwed it up. So the first search you made at 6:23 was Hoslong to die in CIKD, wasn't it?
No.
You see the search right there, correct?
I see the search, but I disagree with your narrative.
And what's the time frame of that search?
6:23.
And you agree that that time frame is accurate, right?
Again, it's what the report says.
And that comports with your memory of that morning, about 6:23 in the morning in 51 seconds.
Correct.
And there's a second search, correct?
Correct.
And this one,
How do you
at
explain this?
6:24, says Hoslong to die in cold. 6:24:16, correct?
Correct.
I'm sorry, 18. That was okay, great. And that comports with your memory as well.
I remember Googling it at the request of the defendant. Yes.
About 27 seconds apart, correct?
Yes.
But the reality is, your first search didn't comport with the 2:27 a.m. search, did it? It was a different spelling, wasn't it?
I never searched a 2:27. That is not reality.
But the 6:24 search did exactly mirror the search that, according to this report, took place at 2:27, correct?
I'm sure Celebrite will be able to explain it to you. I can't.
And then of those three searches,
I'm sure they'll have a Celebrate expert.
one of them ended up deleted. Isn't that right?
I never deleted any search.
Take a look at the Celebrite report.
Because I was thinking, okay, maybe she'll come out and say, oh yeah, it was really cold that night. And like, I was just genuinely curious what would happen if you were out in the cold, how long it would take for you to die. Because, you know, sometimes we like have like random curiosities and we'll just like Google search it. I was thinking maybe she'll say something like that, but she's saying, no, I didn't search this at 2 a.m. and no, I didn't, I didn't delete it. How do you argue with what's in front of you?
Top search. The column marked deleted. What do you see?
I see a yes.
But I guess so Safari source file. What is this knowledge C source file? Is that like another extraction? Like what's the difference between the Safari source file and then the knowledge C source file?
Ms. McCabe, the reason you deleted that 2:27 a.m. call is because you realized that if you were caught Googling how long it takes for a person to die in the cold 3.5 hours before John's body was found, that would incriminate you, wouldn't it?
Objection.
The objection sustained.
Did you delete that search because you knew that you would be
Can they recover your search history if you did it in incognito mode?
implicated in John O'Keefe's death if that search was found on your phone?
Objection.
Could you answer that, please?
I did not delete that search. I never made that search at 2:23. I never would have left John O'Keefe out in the cold to die because he was my friend that I loved.
But he's not your family, is he?
Family and friends.
Is he
Objection.
not your...
Sustained.
You acknowledge that you made the search at 6:23, don't you?
In the morning I did, yes.
Acknowledge that you made the search at 6:24.
Multiple times in the morning, yes.
Of the three searches that show up that were all found on your phone, the one that you disavow is the one that took place at 2:27 a.m., which would implicate you and exonerate my client, correct?
Objection.
Sustained. Can I ask it differently, Mr. Jackson?
Of those three searches, there was only one marked deleted. Isn't that right?
Correct.
That was the one at 2:27 a.m., correct?
I wouldn't even know how to go in and delete a
That's not
search.
what I asked you. The one according to the Celebrite report that was deleted, the one at 2:27 a.m., correct?
Correct.
you would agree that that's awfully convenient for you, isn't it?
Hi,
Objection.
CMB.
Sustained.
So I have your own thing.
Okay, Mr. Lally?
Oh, that's it? Oh, man. Hold on. Mini recap. Mini recap. So, like I said, when she first testified, direct examination, I thought I found her to be pretty credible. That started getting peeled back immensely when it came to the cross-examination about some of the statements, how it's not matching the reports. It's like, okay, well, maybe it's one police report that got it messed up. Oh, it's actually another police report. Oh, and now it's like Cellbrite has it wrong. I don't know. It's a lot that's building up together that's really taken away her credibility.
Thank you.
Oh boy, I don't know.
Yes.
I'll wait for the expert.
Thank you.
But yikes. That's what I was thinking. Remember, initially I was like, why didn't they start with the Google search history? But I was like, you know what? It's probably because they want to end cross-examination with the search history. That way, it resonates in the jury's mind, and that's the last thing they remember in cross-examination. It's weird. Yeah. Hi, Debbie. How are you doing today? Listen, because I'm all about giving people benefit of the doubt, right? I was thinking, okay, maybe she's going to say, oh, I was genuinely curious how long it takes for someone to die in the snow because it was cold that night, blah, blah, blah. It was just on my mind. It was one of those random thought things, right? But she's like, no, I didn't make that search. No, I didn't delete it because that's two things that you're debating. One, the fact that you didn't make that search, and the other debate is, no, I didn't delete it. Oh, man. Okay, don't know how she can explain this unless search at 2:27 a.m. was attached to another tab that she was searching on. Her credibility was shot before this, though. ... Oh, man. Let's see what happens with Mr. Lally. We'll see.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Going back a little bit, you were asked some questions about Life 360 application that you had on your phone. Is that right?
No, Mr. Lally. I think one of the strongest ways you can do a redirect is to address what recently just happened and then work from there. So Lally should address the Cellbrite Safari Google search, dispel that because that's fresh in the jury's mind right now. That's like in their mind. That's what they're thinking about. Let's talk about that. Let's dispel that if you can, right? And then go to all the other shit. Ah, come on, Lally.
Yes.
And you're familiar with that app and familiar with sort of using that app to see where your children are at various times. Is that correct?
Yes.
And from your experience using that app, how accurate is it as far as location and time or anything in regard to it?
Pretty accurate, varying some of their locations and sometimes weather.
Have you ever had instances in which you were told someone was somewhere and they were not there?
Yes.
You were asked some questions about Ryan Nagel's truck, correct?
Yes.
And do you know, or did you on January 29th?
And then also additionally, let's say she searched that earlier, but what's being debated was whether or not she searched that later on. It's possible to like maybe you search that at 2 a.m. and then it might have popped up again at 6 a.m. because maybe she opened the browser again and the old search popped up. And maybe that's why it looked like she searched it again at 6 a.m. But that's not what's being debated. What's being debated is whether or not that search was made at that 2 a.m. prior.
2022, did you know Ryan Nagel?
I did not.
Do you know what kind of vehicle he drove?
I did not.
Keep your voice up, Mr. Lally, please.
Do you know whether or not that was actually somebody else's truck?
Actually, is there even a microphone for Mr. Lally, or is his microphone supposed to pick up Mr. Lally here?
I do not know.
Do you know whether or not on January 29th, 2022, Ryan Nagel had a friend named Ricky?
I do now.
But on the 29th, did you?
Or
No.
what if she's lying on the stand and she did do the search because she was genuinely curious, but then she's like, shit, this might make me look bad. So she deleted the search and now she's lying on the stand. And then also she deleted those phone calls because maybe she thought it would look bad that she called John O'Keefe so many times and now he's found dead and that's why she deleted it. And now she's lying on the stand. I don't know. We're exploring all these different scenarios. But you know what? Let's just take her word for it for whatever she's saying on the stand. It's I don't know and I didn't do that. Oh, man. Which does not look good for her.
On the 29th, did you have any idea what kind of vehicle he drove?
No.
This person you didn't know.
Right. Correct.
And when you looked outside as far as the truck was concerned, did you even see a truck?
I just saw lights, vehicle. I didn't focus much attention to what was over there.
So fair to say you weren't paying attention to a truck you didn't see, a person you didn't know that you had never seen before, correct?
Sustained as to that form.
Now, you were asked some questions about text between Ryan Nagel and Julie Nagel, correct?
Yes.
And as far as when those texts were sent, you don't know, do you?
Can you clarify?
Sure. Do you know whether or not Ryan Nagel texted his sister Julie before he had even pulled on to Fairview Road?
They were texting at about his arrival.
Texting about his arrival, but do you know where Ryan Nagel was when he was texting Julie about his arrival?
I believe he was outside.
But you don't know. Is that fair to say?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you know whether or not Ryan Nagel was on Cedar Crest or somewhere else when he texted Julie that he was about to arrive or that he was there?
Objection.
I'll allow it. Do you know that?
I don't know that now.
As far as the defendant's motor vehicle and the truck that Mr. Nagel was in, did you see either of those vehicles arrive in front of Fairview?
Yes.
You saw them pull up?
No, actually, are you asking if I saw them pulling up or if I saw when they arrived? I did not see them pulling up.
So at some point after they arrived, your attention was drawn outside.
Yes.
And when we're talking about you going to the door and looking outside, how long a period are you looking at?
Well, I was thinking, because I think it showed that hose long to die in the cold showed up at the 2 a.m. and then the 6 a.m. mark, right? I was thinking if it was already at the 2 a.m. mark, if she pulled up the browser again, it would still be fresh on there, and she could have just hit like the enter button and then been like, oh shit, let me type it differently this time or something like that.
Not long.
So would you describe it as either a glance or more of a were you staring intently at the vehicle out in front of the house?
Objection.
Sustained.
Oh, cat
How would you
breeds.
describe the manner in which you were looking out at the SUV in front of the house?
I would go to the front door. I look out. I saw the vehicle. I believe I sent a text and I went and sat back down.
Now, in any of those times that you went to the door, and do you know how many times you went to the door?
I don't know exactly.
At least twice, is that correct?
At least, yes.
Now, in those at least twice that you, well, at least twice that you saw the vehicle and once that you saw that the vehicle was gone, correct?
Hi, Sarah.
Yeah, so I guess actually it was more than twice because I saw the vehicle move as well.
And when you say as far as you saw the vehicle move, did you see the
Oh, I
vehicle?
forgot it's Mr. Lolly. I can speed it up more. If it's Mr. Jackson talking, we can't do 1.5. He talks way too fast. Lolly, on the other hand, we could definitely speed it up.
Physically move, or it was in one place and then you came back later and it was in a different place?
It was in one place, and then when I came back, it was further up.
Now, at any of those points in time, did you took a glance out the storm door? Did you see anybody outside of the vehicle?
No,
Did you see inside of the vehicle?
no,
Did you see anybody outside other than Julie Nagel on the front lawn, front walkway, or anything else?
no,
At any point in time while you were at 34 Fairview that night, did you see John O'Keefe?
no,
At any point in time when you texted John O'Keefe after you arrived at Fairview, did John O'Keefe respond?
no.
At any point in time after you arrived at Fairview, or after you hung up from the 12:18 a.m. call, in which you
Because it's another possibility of what could have happened.
were describing where 34 Fairview was in reference to Bella's house, did you ever hear from John O'Keefe ever again?
No.
Because I think that's what Jackson was getting at. Jackson was getting at, you have two of the same searches that happened prior. It's like, why would you search it again if you already had that search already up there from 2 a.m.? That's why they were both identical. Was it either, did she type it again incorrectly, wrong, possibly, or she already had that search up, and when she did it again at 6 a.m., that search was already on there with the results.
And during that about 20-minute or so period of time when Mr. O'Keefe or
Well, he's
Ben's SUV
fine.
is in front of the house, you never heard anything from John O'Keefe, correct?
Correct.
Oh, sorry, I took out the captions. I'm going to bring them back.
And did that strike you as unusual as far as him not responding?
I thought it was strange, but then I thought that they just might have decided to go home or had gotten into a fight or Kaylee wanted him home.
Now, you're looking out through the storm door and you see the Lexus with its lights on, right?
Correct.
And from that area, the secondary area, up by the flagpole and the fire hydrant, that's the same area where you found John O'Keefe the next morning, correct?
Correct.
And with reference to that area, is there any lights as far as street lights or anything that you're aware of in that area?
No, it's a dark area in the corner of the lot.
Now, at any point in time, were you looking or were you expecting to see John's body on the lawn?
Absolutely not.
And fair to say that when you're looking in the dark, in the snow, from a storm door, out towards the vehicle, not the same conditions as if you're standing in a courtroom or sitting in a courtroom today, about 10 feet away from somebody during the daytime with lights on, correct?
Correct.
Okay, sorry. I'm just thinking about this. What if none of the Albert people inside the house were involved? What if it was, let's say for some reason, John was outside. Let's say Karen dropped. No, but did Karen say that? No, but Karen said she saw John go inside the house, though, didn't she? Because I was thinking, okay, what about another alternate theory where Karen drops off John or John gets out of the car, whatever, and John's like really drunk. He's outside of the house. No, but then people would have saw him standing around there, right? What if he passed? What if it was really drunk and then he fell into the snow and it was kind of just like sleeping there? And then as Jen, Matt, Sarah Levinson, Julie Nagel were leaving, they accidentally hit John. I don't know. Wasn't that an opening statement? Didn't Karen say that she dropped off John? John walked up into the house, and then she was waiting for him to call her and let her know whether or not he was invited or things were good or something like that. And he didn't do that. So that's why she left, and then she was really angry, and that's when she left like the barrage of text messages. She said she dropped him off at the waterfall. No, I remember her testimony was that Karen initially said that Karen last saw John at the waterfall. And then they were trying to tell her, wait, no, that's not what happened. You drove with John to 34 Fairview. You're open for alternate theory? Yeah, because I'm trying to think what could have fucking happened. I was like, okay, well, let's say the Alberts were not in on it, because I'm still not sure about the Colin thing. We need to figure out when those pictures were taken when he was doing his reunion with the other family. But what if it's like a Jen McCabe thing, a Matt McCabe thing? Because, you know, the other person that was in the car was the only one that said that she saw the black lump in the snow. I don't know. Just kidding. I retract. I'm just trying to think these out with you guys, okay? But no, never mind. I'll come back to it maybe if it starts to make sense.
Back to Fairview the next morning. And again, who was the person who requested or directed to go to Fairview?
Karen.
And so when you go to Fairview...
I don't remember Karen ever saying she saw John go in the house. Oh, maybe I remember incorrectly. I could have sworn that was the story. That she dropped him off, he went in the house, and then she was waiting to see if what's it called? If things were good.
Along with the defendant and Ms. Roberts at the defendant's direction, sometime around 6 a.m. When was it that you first saw Mr. O'Keefe?
I wasn't the one to first see him. Karen was.
She's banging on the door, asking it to be let out. She goes directly over to the bar, correct?
Correct.
And neither you nor Ms. Roberts, well, you didn't see Mr. O'Keefe on the lawn until after she did that, correct?
Correct.
And that was after you had already sort of driven a little bit past where he was, correct?
Correct.
Sorry, hold on. I got distracted for a second.
All
right, Mr. Lyle, bring me back in.
Mr. O'Keefe?
I wasn't the one to first see him. Karen was.
So she's banging on the door, asking it to be let out. She goes directly over to the bar, correct?
Correct.
And neither you nor Ms. Roberts, well, you didn't see Mr. O'Keefe on the lawn until after she did that, correct?
Correct.
And that was after you had already sort of driven a little bit past where he was, correct?
Correct.
Now, with reference to you get home from Fairview around 2 a.m. or somewhere in that time frame, you go up to bed and you do some searches on your phone, correct?
Correct.
And so there's a Safari tab or an application on your phone. That's where you access Google.
Yes.
Is that typically where you would access Google?
Yes.
And you were looking at Ozone basketball. You're also looking at Hawk, is that right?
Sustained.
What, if anything else, were you looking at beyond the Ozone basketball you talked about?
We had an exciting game earlier in the night against a local town that has a very good basketball program. So I went on Hawk Sports to look at the recap, and typically I'll do that to see how other teams did, etc.
And around that same time, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, within when you did that, as far as looking things
He could have slipped, hit his face on the fire hydrant, and then the electric box. Strange accidents happen. Yeah, but there's also the scratch marks on his arms. I don't know. How would that happen, right? I don't know. I guess, like I said, we have to wait for the expert to testify about that. Because I was thinking, like, what if it was an accident? I don't know. What if it was like a multi-variable thing? I don't know.
up on Google, were you opening up new tabs within Safari as you were looking at different websites or different topics?
No.
And when you went to bed or you went to sleep that evening, at some point you turned off your phone, right?
Correct.
And did you X out that box, that Safari tab that you were doing no searches with regard to Ozone and Hawk?
No, I used to always leave my tabs open, and my kids would yell at me.
As far as having multiple tabs open, is that correct?
Drains my battery, etc. Yes.
So then, flash forward to sometime after 6 a.m., you're on the side of the road and the defendant asks you to look up something with regard to hypothermia or how long to die in the pool, correct?
Correct.
So when you open that up and you go into Google, did you open up a new tab or did you just sort of go into what you had already opened in the Safari tab?
I went to what I already had opened.
And that's where you performed the search, is that right?
Excuse me?
That's where you performed the search that you were just being asked about?
Yes.
And you never made any search like that at 2:27 in the morning, correct?
I did not know.
Now, again, you've been shown what's been called a Cellbrite extraction report, correct?
Yes.
Are you familiar with how many
Debbie.
Cellbrite extraction reports were conducted in reference to your phone?
I think a couple. I'm actually not sure.
And prior to January 29, 2022, had you ever seen Cellbrite extraction report?
No.
I mean, let's say Lolly is trying to say that, oh, the reason why it showed the 227 search history was because you used the same browser that you didn't close to search at 6 a.m. So it looked like you had it search at 2. No, that doesn't fucking make sense. Search history doesn't work like that. I mean, my knowledge of like when you hit Control H, right? It doesn't really work like that. Maybe Celebrate is fucky, but how does it explain Celebrate saying that she deleted it?
Here today, do you even really know what that is?
Not really, no.
You know what a wall file is?
No,
You know what an SQLite database is?
no,
You know what a knowledge profile C database is?
no,
Do you know how information is stored
Wait,
and kept
bacon?
within your cell phone?
no.
I had bacon earlier.
Now, as far as
It definitely
let
had
me
pig
ask you
DNA
this.
on me.
You had 4 children and you were a mom, a homemaker, correct?
Correct.
At some point you did work though, right?
Yes,
What did you do for it?
I was an elementary school teacher.
What grade did you teach?
5th,
One question, and we'll see where this goes.
What grade did you teach?
5th.
And how long did you teach 5th grade?
I'm going to see counsel at sidebar.
Correct.
Yes,
And so what is the first, 4:53 in the morning is when you get that first call from Taylor Bush, is that correct?
correct.
You answer that call and then the defendant is put on the line, correct?
Yes.
And so what is the first sort of iteration of the story that the defendant tells you happened the night before?
That they got into a fight, she left him at the waterfall, and he never came home.
And at some point later, you confronted with that you saw the vehicle out front of the house, correct?
Correct.
And so then what is the defendant's story changed at that point?
That they went there, and it changed multiple times. I'm not sure exactly. She said at one point, "Oh my God, I don't even remember going there." She was telling other people that he was dead, that a plow hit him. The story changed multiple times that morning.
Now, on cross-examination, you were playing a voicemail. Do you know whose phone that voicemail was from?
They never said no.
Was it John?
Fair to say that you're on 911 in the background of that phone call, correct?
Correct.
So it wasn't your phone.
Correct.
And there's 2 other people beyond that, as far as Ms. Roberts and the defendant there, correct?
Correct.
Was Terry on the phone at all that you saw?
No.
And so with reference to the timing of that phone, you had called 911 and you were on the phone with 911 at the time that recording starts, right?
Correct.
So you had gotten out of the car. You had gone around and then seen where the defendant had run over to Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Maybe we can ask Chloe's current owners. Chloe's current owners, speak up, please. What is your experience with Chloe so far? Does she bark at people? Does she bark when there's noise outside? When there's a mailman outside? We have questions.
As to the form, it's
Come
sustained.
testify.
What had you done before you placed that 911 call?
I got out of the car. I ran behind the car.
That was something that someone did mention. Remember the defense mentioned if Caitlyn brought Chloe with her? And I was like, wait, is the defense trying to say that something happened and then when she was picked up by her boyfriend, she took Chloe with her? We got like a little taste of that, and I don't know if there was ever a follow-up on that.
What had you done before you placed that 911 call?
I got out of the car. I ran behind the car over to the body. I was in a state of shock for a couple of seconds. Carrie and I looked at each other, and I said, I'm going to call 911.
There was a period of time when you made the call before connected and you said you bounced around to different agencies, correct?
Yes.
This is after the defendant has hit the door and run from the vehicle over to Mr. O'Keefe's phone, right?
Yes.
So it's not your phone, and it's not Ms. Roberts' phone. Fair inference is the defendant's phone, correct?
Correct.
And so this phone call had been made or started recording at some points before you had even gotten out of the car, made your way over to Mr. O'Keefe, and in a state of shock for a few seconds. Call 911, connected to 911. So at some point, it had to have been made in the car, correct? Objection.
Ask it differently.
Oh, wait. Is Lolly trying to say Karen already had 911? Or sorry. No, wait, what the fuck is Lolly trying to say? Hold on.
Over to Mr. O'Keefe's phone, right?
Yes.
So it's not your phone, and it's not Ms. Roberts' phone. Fair inference is the defendant's phone, correct?
Correct.
And so this phone call had been made or started recording at some points before you had even gotten out of the car, made your way over to Mr. O'Keefe, and in a state of shock for a few seconds. Call 911, connected to 911. So at some point, it had to have been made in the car, correct? Objection.
Ask it differently.
Do you know when that?
Wait, so never mind. I thought Lolly was onto something, but no, never mind. It seems like Karen may have called John O'Keefe, and then when the body was found, she probably dropped the call and it fell into the car, or she left it in the car, something like that, right?
That voicemail or that recording that you heard.
Hey, I thought I knew what Lolly was trying to say. Okay, I was trying to get ahead of it. Never mind.
When that call was placed.
I don't.
At the time that you are making the 911
She drove her car to the bar. It wasn't very far. Cool. Hey, Storm. How are you doing today? How's it going? He's saying the voicemail was picked up from Karen's phone. So it is John O'Keefe's voice message. Oh, wait. So he's saying that Karen had John's phone, and then Karen picked up the phone call and left it in. Do I need to slow him down?
Do you know when that voicemail or that recording that you heard, do you know when that call was placed?
I don't.
At the time that you are making the 911 call, where is the defendant in relation to the vehicle?
She is over with Mr. O'Keefe.
You mentioned that the part beyond the 911 call where you heard yourself talking, you're at the rear of Ms. Roberts' vehicle?
Yes.
And why are you at the rear of Ms. Roberts' vehicle?
In the beginning, I'm at the rear gathering towels or blankets. And then a few times I go to the rear because I'm trying to speak with the 911, and Karen is screaming hysterically. And then Kerry starts screaming at her to calm down. It was quite chaotic. So I was moving away.
Okay, I think my issue was I was trying to get ahead to see where Lolly was getting to. I should stop doing that. I should just let it roll. Okay.
So that I could be clear with the operators.
Now, at some point you went into your sister's house at 3430, right?
Yes.
And why did you go?
Officer Lank asked me to go in and wake them up.
So you were asked to go in there by the police to wake them up, right?
Sustained.
And at some point you indicated that you had called Officer Lang to come back to the house, right?
Yes.
And how did you get the number again?
Julie Albert.
And as far as, were you aware whether or not Brian Albert, Cole Albert, or any of the other people that were present had Officer Lang's number? Objection.
Sustained.
Why did you ask Julie Albert and not Brian Albert and Cole Albert?
Because I knew she was the only one that had his number.
You were asked some questions about.
Can you hear it? I could barely hear the recording though. When we were listening to it, I could barely hear what's happening on there.
Asked some questions about when you were on scene and you indicated in your testimony on direct that you heard the defendant say, I hit him, correct?
Yes.
You also, earlier in your testimony, had indicated that earlier in the morning, the defendant had
Hey, Aaron.
phrased that differently as far as could I have hit him or did I, correct? Objection.
Sustained as to the phone.
You heard the defendant make a variety of statements over the course of the morning, correct?
Yes.
And more to my point, as far as you recall testifying at another hearing under oath in June of 2020, correct?
Yes.
And you recall being asked some questions specifically about this topic? Objection.
Allowed. Okay.
So what was Lolly trying to get with that voice message then? So we get it. Karen was calling John, trying to locate him, and then it went to a voice message, and then the phone call never ended, and that's why we were able to hear Jen on the background calling 911, and that's about it. Can you imagine Lolly being a waiter? What, if any, as regards to these sort of beverages could be ordered or put another way? Is there any sort of drinks that you want to order? It's great. Okay. Karen was calling John, dropped the phone in the car when she found him, and went to voice message. I was just wondering why Lolly brought it up. Because he was like, oh, that happened before the body was found, right? And it's like, yeah? It's like, all right, where are we going with this, Lolly? I could have missed it. Or it was a nothing burger.
Mr. McCabe, as I was asking before, in June of 2023, you testified in another proceeding, correct?
Correct.
And you were asked questions specifically about those statements that you heard the defendant say on the morning of January 20th, correct?
Correct.
And do you recall specifically what your testimony was in regard to that portion of it, in regard to those statements?
I don't recall specifics. I know what I know what happened.
Can I approach on?
Yes.
Transcripts? What do you got?
If you could just review that. You're on 816 and 817.
Thank you.
Mr. McCabe, remember you're fresh as to what you said in that prior proceeding in regard to those statements.
Yes.
What did you say?
What did I say in that? I told them that Karen looked straight at me and said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. And I said that there was, I believe, an EMT that overheard as well.
Now, do you recall in that same prior proceeding being asked any questions sort of
Wait, so that was in the transcript? Was that in the transcript, though, or is she just saying that she said that?
in another proceeding, correct?
Correct.
And you asked questions specifically about those statements that you heard the defendant say on the morning of January 20th, correct?
Correct.
And do you recall specifically what your testimony was in regard to that portion of it, in regard to those statements?
I don't recall specifics. I know what I know what happened.
Can I approach on?
Yes.
Okay, so he gives her a piece of paper. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Because the other defense attorney said that was not in the transcripts. She never said that.
I'm giving you 2 pages. Direct your attention to the bottom of the first page and then into the next page. If you could just review that yourself and look up.
The page again, Mr. Lally?
816 and 817.
Thank you.
What is she looking at right now? Do I think Matt ever
Yes.
would?
Mr. Cave, remember refreshed as to what you said in that prior proceeding in regard to those statements.
Yes.
What did you say?
What did I say in that? I told them that Karen looked straight at me and said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. And I said that there was, I believe, an EMT that overheard as well.
Now, do you recall in that same prior proceeding being asked any questions sort of
This is the federal grand jury? Oh, okay. So the one that Mr. Jackson referred to, those transcripts, that wasn't the federal grand jury. That was just the state grand jury. Just a regular grand jury. Oh my god, I don't know how the jury is not confused right now. Gotcha. Okay. In the second grand jury, it was in the transcript. But I mean, I'm going to have to go by with whichever happened closest to the event, you know, which is the state grand jury, right? Why would you think the federal grand jury is more credible? Her statements in the federal grand jury is more credible than the state grand jury, because that one would have been more fresh in her mind.
at different times, the defendant saying different iterations of that same statement.
Okay, yeah, okay. Wait for the cross. It becomes apparent that she waited until 2023 to say it. Okay, thank you. With Mr. Lally, I just get confused sometimes. Thanks.
Objection.
Sustained as to form. No leading, Mr. Lally.
With respect to that that's testimony in that same prior proceeding, what, if anything else, were you asked about statements the defendant made to you that morning?
I was asked what were some of the statements that Miss Reed had made, and it was like, repeat, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Is he dead? Is he dead? Is he dead? Could I have hit him? Did I hit him? I have a cracked tail light. And then her, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
And so with respect to questions and, sorry, did I hit him or could I have hit him, and the statement, I hit him, those were at different times, correct?
Correct. I believe it was Trooper. Correct.
Was that the first time that you... Now, you met with Trooper Proctor on January 29th, is that correct?
Correct.
Was that the first time that you met him?
Correct.
If anyone was with him when you met?
I believe it was Trooper Yuri.
And subsequent to that day, did you meet with other troopers?
Yes.
And by other troopers, I mean not Trooper Proctor and not Trooper Yuri.
Yes.
And with respect to meeting with other troopers, was it at that point that they talked to you about taking your phone?
Correct.
And they asked you for your phone, is that correct?
I had shared my Life 360 and my Life 360 and my texts, and they asked if they could take a copy of my phone.
And did you agree to that?
I agreed to it. Yes.
Were you presented a form at all in regard to your agreeing to hand over your phone?
Yes.
And beyond what you had testified to earlier as far as things, were there any limitations that you put on what they could look at or take from your phone?
No limitations.
Can I approach Ron?
Yes.
It's not hard to get lost.
Just in general, ma'am, do you recognize that?
Yes.
What do you recognize that?
This was the consent form for my phone.
So that's the form you filled out with troopers.
You know how usually in trials you look forward to the defendant to hopefully testify because you want to see them possibly getting destroyed in cross-examination. If Karen Reed testifies, I feel like she will not need to worry about Mr. Lally cross-examining her because I don't know if he'll do a good job.
In regards to giving over your phone.
Correct.
Can I approach General?
Yes.
I want the signatures.
Is there an objection, Mr. Jackson?
No objection.
Okay, thank you.
I'm surprised Jen and Carrie's
Thank you.
testimonies ended today. I thought it was going to go on for a long time.
Oh, correct.
Yes.
And why is it that you were looking for Terry's numbers?
Well, the driving conditions were terrible. She was driving to Braintree to pick up Mr. and Mrs. O'Keefe, and then they were heading to the hospital, and I was just looking to see how John was doing.
You had mentioned at some point, did you speak to Ms. Roberts that morning in regard to updates as far as how John was doing?
Yes,
And you mentioned that later on, either that day or the next day, that you had gone over to Mr. O'Keefe's house with Ms. Roberts, correct?
yes.
And who was driving at the time that you went over to the O'Keefe's house with Ms. Roberts?
Carrie was driving.
And so when you left the O'Keefe's house, where was it that you went?
Carrie went to drop her daughter off at her friend's house, the daughter of Mike Lang.
And you were just in the front passenger seat of that vehicle, right?
Yes,
You had mentioned as far as getting together with Ms. Roberts at the request of someone.
She said Kara's a talker.
To
Hey,
talk
Perry.
about the timeline, right?
yes.
And can you explain to the jury sort of how that came about or who was making that request?
Carrie called me and she told me that she had talked to Peggy, and Peggy had
Peggy's John's
No,
mom.
I'm going to allow it.
and Peggy had suggested to Carrie, you guys should write a timeline. You don't want to forget anything, when the time comes, meaning when the trial comes, you don't want to forget anything that happened.
Just to be clear, when you say Peggy, who are you referring to?
Mrs. O'Keefe,
John's mother?
John's mother, correct?
Now, you were asked some questions about subsequent date as far as hearing bits and pieces or portions of Ms. Roberts' statement to troopers at your home, correct?
Correct.
Do you know whether or not that was the first time that Ms. Roberts had talked to troopers or officers or anyone from either the Canton Police or City Police?
I believe on the 29th in the afternoon, troopers went to her house.
Carrie Roberts' husband testified, right?
I said that would have been the first time.
So the time that she was at your home and speaking to troopers, that would have been at least the second time that she spoke to troopers, correct? Yes.
Sustain.
Now, with reference to Ms. Roberts and her phone, was Ms. Roberts, the time that you handed your phone over to the troopers, was Ms. Roberts present there as well?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did you see Ms. Roberts do with respect to her phone and the troopers?
She turned her phone over as well and signed the consent.
He did. Okay. Just want to make sure my memory's correct.
That you said was horrified you in some way, is that correct?
From Miss Roberts?
Yes.
Correct.
And what was that? What was she talking about? Objection.
The door has been opened, Mr. Jackson. That means you can answer. Okay.
So basically, Carrie is a talker, and once she started,
I think just focus on
Okay.
what she said.
okay, she said something like, John really loved Amy, and in my eyes, Karen was just a babysitter with benefits.
What?
And is that what made it memorable to you as far as what had transpired at that time?
Yes.
At any point in time, did you ever coordinate your statement and Ms. Roberts' statements with her prior to testifying at any hearing or any proceeding at any point in time?
No.
This was the tea. Oh. Oh boy. Because I thought Carrie was gonna say that, like, oh, Karen and John, they fight sometimes or something like that. Show Karen's face. I know. Show Karen's face. Oh my god, I need to use the bathroom. I'm gonna pee myself. Oh my lord. Okay, I need to remember to not be as loud because I'm in a hotel right now. They're gonna think some crazy stuff is going on in here. And then Cheryl's in the bathroom trying to sleep because it's probably too loud in here. You're like, Mama, I'm just trying to sleep, man. You making loud noise again in front of that big bright squares thing. Let me just sleep. Or Shiro. Sorry, Shiro. Oh my lord. Okay. I thought it was gonna be like Karen said she wants to kill me or something. Yeah, she might be a little gossiper. Oh gosh, okay. Oh boy. I need to hear that again on a repeat.
That you said was
Is Amy
horrified you in some way,
John's
is that-
ex-girlfriend, I'm assuming? Or is Amy... Wait, no, because remember there was that whole Aruba fight thing. That was with someone named like Mariette or something like that, or Marianne? She says Carrie likes to talk, but looks like Jen's the real gossip here.
Correct?
From Miss Roberts?
Yes.
Correct.
And what was that? What was she talking about?
Objection.
The door has been opened, Mr. Jackson. That means you can answer. Okay.
So basically, Carrie is a talker, and once she started,
I think just focus on
Okay.
what she said.
okay, she said something like, John really loved Amy, and in my eyes, Karen was just a babysitter with benefits.
And is that what made it memorable to you as far as what had transpired at that time?
Yes.
At any point in time, did you ever
That's fucked
coordinate your statement and Ms. Roberts' statements with her prior to testifying at any hearing or any proceeding at any point in time?
No.
Because now I'm wondering, that's why I asked you guys. I wonder if her and Carrie are friends right now, because the way that she's testifying in the stand kind of shows possibly otherwise. Maybe they're not cool with each other anymore. Maybe Carrie has strayed from the friend group. Maybe they don't like what Carrie's doing. I don't know. But the feeling that I started to get was, oh, maybe they're not friends right now. BSWB, babysitter with benefits. And then the way that she talks about Carrie in the stand, it's like, Carrie's a talker. Carrie's a talker. I'm there because of Carrie. She's such a talker. I don't know. Okay, I can't wait to hear from Carrie then when she testifies. Yeah, Carrie and Jen weren't friends. I know that they met once because of John, because John was trying to show how appreciative he was of the two women who were helping out, taking care of his niece and nephew. I think Jen got Carrie's number, and then I thought possibly they were bonding over John's death. Maybe, you know, they both lost a friend. Da 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 da. But with the way that she's testifying right now, I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know if her and Carrie are in speaking terms right now. Maybe they are.
Ma'am, you saw Mr. O'Keefe. Was he in the same clothes that you had seen him in earlier?
He had jeans and I believe the same shirt on, yes.
And nothing additional as far as jacket or anything like that you saw?
Not that I recall.
Now, again, as you were driving down Fairview Road, if the defendant did not bang on the door and essentially jump out of the car and make
Oh, the Housewives of Orange County drama. Love it. Oh, dude, I love me some Housewives. The best, Georgia, hands down. I don't know. Orange County was not really my favorite. Beverly Hills, yes. And my brother tells me Salt Lake City is really good, but I haven't really gotten into it. I watched like one season where they found out this girl basically created like a fake Instagram account and has been troll bullying them for like the past couple years, and now she's like a housewife or something. Anyway, sorry. I love me some housewife talk.
line over to Mr. O'Keefe, would you have stopped the car?
No.
Recall when you were leaving 34 Fairview Road earlier, as far as sometime between 1:30 and 1:45 when Mr. McCabe is driving. Do you recall whether or not the roads were plowed or treated or anything that you saw at that time?
I know there was snow on them, but I can't recall specifics.
Now, as far as the defendant coming over your house shortly after 5 a.m., was that something that you were expecting at the time?
No.
And what was it prior to the defendant
The Real Housewives of Kansas County.
showing up sort of screaming in front of your house? What was your sort of plan as far as based on the information that Ms. Reed had home?
My husband and I were going to go out and we were going to drive over to Tom Beatty's house to see if Dawn was there.
Now, as far as the 911 call that you were making, that information that you were providing, what was that based on?
What I was seeing.
But as far as how Mr. O'Keefe had come to be there at 34 Fairview Road, when you're communicating back to the 911 operator or to officer else on scene, was that from your observations when you were inside 34 Fairview at the waterfall or from some other source?
Well, it was from what Karen was saying as we were driving there.
So as far as him being dropped off or anything like that, that came from the defendant, correct?
Correct.
Now, as far as you had been asked and you testified about going over to Proctor's house to meet with his wife, correct?
Correct.
And you testified about certain incidents of harassment that you had undergone, as well as Mrs. Proctor, is that correct?
Correct.
How long had that been going on at that point?
At that point, it started in April, and now I believe I went over there in September.
And what, if anything, was the frequency of the harassment?
Yes, do you want me to slow him down? If you guys want, I can slow Lolly down to 0.5 for you. He talks so fast, and sometimes like it just goes over my head. I don't know what he's saying. Maybe I should slow it down.
Now, as far as you had been asked and you testified about going over to Proctor's house to meet with his wife, correct?
Correct.
And you testified about certain incidents of harassment.
What if I made a sound alert for what if any? For oh my gosh, I should make a sound alert. I'll torture you guys. just randomly just play it on my stream.
That you had undergone, as well as Mrs. Proctor. Is that correct?
Correct.
How long had that been going on at that point?
At that point, it started in April, and now I believe I went over there in September.
And
April
what, if anything, was
2023, right?
the frequency of the harassment? Sporadic, or how often were you?
Daily, sometimes hourly.
Oh, so they've been harassed for about a year now?
And in addition to what you've already testified, what, if any, other incidents do you recall specifically involving either you or your children or your home?
People come by my house, they take video, they scream. They've gone to my child's sporting events and called me names. They've written letters to my daughter's colleges and said that they shouldn't allow them to play. And then they've attached these horrific articles that have been complete lies about all of us. They send me Facebook messages. They call my phone, home phone and cell phone, all hours of the night. They tell me to kill myself. They tell me I'm a terrible mother. They harass my children. My daughter testified here the other day. We didn't even get out of the building, and people were, saying horrendous things, that she's a liar. Your mother should die. It's just, it's unimaginable what my entire family is going through. I go to the beach, they take pictures, they post it, they threaten that there are eyes everywhere. I'll never be able to live a normal life again. I am a witness. That's all I am. I am not on trial. I am a witness. And these people are terrorizing me.
Stand as to that part. I'll strike that part. Everything else is stand. Okay.
And so, your understanding that Mrs. Proctor had sustained similar issues as you had.
Correct.
Now, again, Trooper Michael Proctor never met him prior to January 29, 2020, correct?
I have never met him prior. No.
And the time that you went over to meet with Elizabeth Proctor, was Trooper Michael Proctor home at that time?
No, he was not home.
Had you ever been over to his house prior to that, or any time subsequent?
No, never.
Now, you did have some conversations with Trooper Proctor following this day and around. Let me ask you this. You testified a bit about a rolling round. Is that correct?
Correct.
Can you describe to the jury sort of what that was, or what occurred on that day?
So that day in July, a group got together under one blogger, and they all met and they decided to go to different houses. So Michael Proctor had been made aware of what was happening, so he had reached out to tell me, what was going to be happening and how they had set up some cameras. It was a Saturday. I had just come home from vacation with my children and my husband. Mrs. O'Keefe picked up my two younger children and brought them out with her so they wouldn't be home for this. And my two older children and my husband were in the house while about, 50 to 75 people came to my house. They screamed, they yelled, "There's a murderer." They just caused an absolute ruckus outside.
And prior to that, did you have any conversations with Proctor and other troopers from the state police about knowledge of that incident occurring prior to its time?
Yes.
And as far as setting up sort of pole cameras around your house to memorialize whatever is going to happen?
Yes.
Now, you were asking questions with regard to the Google search. Again, that was initiated after 6 a.m. Why again?
Because Miss Reed asked
Okay, so she said the harassment started in 2023, and then July or June was when the people showed up at her house?
me to Google how long to die from hypothermia. She said, Google hypothermia, Google how long it takes to die in the cold. She was shaking me, screaming at me to do it.
And she's shaking.
Now remember, Lolly needs to talk about the possible deleted phone calls to her sister Nicole Albert that morning, the possible deleted phone calls to John O'Keefe. Is he going to address that? Or I just have to wait, right? He needs to talk about it.
You as you're typing, is that correct?
Correct.
And there's some misspellings, correct?
Correct. I also have MS and I have issue.
I'll allow that.
I have MS and I have, issues with my hand. So I a lot of times Google and make errors, but the cold also makes my hand go completely numb. So I'm not surprised that that's how it would come out.
When you were in your bedroom, sometime after 2 a.m. Thursday, the defendant wasn't there shaking you when you were Google searching for ozone basketball or hot command?
Objection. Sustained.
One moment, John.
Yes.
What? Oh, Mr. Lolly, that's all the time you spent on the hose long to die in the snow? Oh, we didn't talk about the deleted phone calls or any of that stuff? Oh, I guess how would have Lolly rebutted that? Could he not rebutted that? Lolly's like, you know what? We're just not even going to talk about it. It's fine. It's fine. I guess maybe Lolly will wait till expert testimony to readdress the deleted stuff.
Concerning statement, I hit him. He gave a statement
Man, his redirects are so not satisfying.
on January 29th to Sergeant Light. Called him over. specifically give him a statement, correct?
Correct.
Gave a statement the next day, later that day, to Trooper Proctor, correct?
Correct.
You were also met with, on that following Tuesday, with a trooper named Prince, correct?
Correct.
And then you
Maybe the approach the jury will hopefully forget.
testified in April of 2022 no fewer than 12 times about statements that you attributed to Ms. Reed, correct?
Correct.
And in not one of those instances, not one, is there a report that says you said, she said, I hit it, correct?
Correct. Although I told Mike Lang.
Oh, we already know that the officers all got it wrong.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained as to that.
Was it Alan Jackson who said something that reminded me of Juan Martinez? What was it again? It was like, shit, what did Juan Martinez ask Jody again? Like, are you stupid? Do you not remember? Do you have memory issues? Something like that.
Next question, please, Mr. Jackson.
So you indicate that you were, the harassment that you just described, this terrible harassment that you just described, started in about April 2023, correct?
Correct.
It was around the time that there were public hearings concerning this Google search, is that right?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
Is that right?
I'm not sure exactly when the Google search came out.
But you do know that you started suffering this harassment that you claimed is awful and terrible, etc., around April of 2023. Is that right?
I didn't claim it's awful. It is awful.
Okay, I'm sure it is awful, Ms. McCabe. I'm sure it's terrible.
It
I'm sure
is.
it sucks to be harassed.
It really does.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
Objection, Your Honor.
All right, so that's sustained, and I'll strike it. Go ahead and ask a question, Mr. Jackson.
You were upset by April of 2023 that there was public outrage about your family being involved in the death of John O'Keefe. That's what you were upset about, correct?
I was upset that we as witnesses were being harassed.
You were upset about public outrage concerning this case, correct?
Objection.
Sustained, that was answered. Next question.
And 2 months later, in June of 2023, for the first time, you testified at another proceeding, and lo and behold,
And this is what the defense is so good at. They're so good at putting the timelines together and correlating with, okay, so the reason why this happens because this happened, and then this changed, and then this happened, right? I feel like that is what the prosecution needs to do, because we kind of need the timelines, not just the timelines of the night that it happened, before, afterwards, but we need like the entire timeline of the entirety of everything leading up to this trial. Like, when did people start changing stories? Was it because of this? Was it because of that? When was this introduced? Blah, 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 all this stuff. Like, I think that's why the defense is doing such a good job at it, because he's saying, okay, well, the reason why you're getting harassment is because people found out about the Google search history thing. And the reason why you're saying that I hit him, is because after they came after you or something like that. Oh, gosh. I mean, Mr. Lawley. Oh, Jesus. Does Mr. Lawley get a redirect? No, actually, no, we'll just go back and forth. Does he get another redirect?
you attributed the words, I hit him, to my client, right?
Objection.
So ask that without the objectionable phrase.
Outrage concerning this case, correct?
Objection.
June.
Sustained, that was answered. Next question.
And 2 months later, in June of 2023, for the first time, you testified at another proceeding, and lo and behold, you attributed the words, I hit him, to my client, right?
Objection.
So ask that without the objectionable phrase.
2 months later, at another proceeding, in June of 2023, you attributed the statement, I hit him, to my client for the first time under oath, correct?
Under oath, correct.
You indicated when you turned your phone in, the police were perfectly okay with you deleting communications with your children, correct?
Correct.
Including Allie, who's a material witness in this trial.
Objection.
Right?
So part of that is objectionable, and I'll sustain that. So
You're aware that your daughter Allie was a witness in this case.
At the time, I was not aware of that, no.
No, but you did know that ultimately she was going to indicate that she drove Colin home, right? You knew that at the time.
Objection.
that's sustained.
Did you know at the time that Allie had driven Colin home, or she said she drove him home?
I had no idea she drove him home.
But you deleted all those communications with Allie, didn't you?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you delete all the communications that you had off your phone with Allie, your daughter?
Objection.
So this has already been answered, but go ahead, finish. Let's finish.
Yeah, because I remember in her testimony, she said that before she turned her phone in, she was like, oh, hey, can I delete these, like, private conversations with my daughter? And they were like, yes, which is, like, kind of weird. What if those communications were pertinent to the case? Was important? Unless they already looked at it and they deemed that it wasn't important, but I feel like you would still want to make a record of those text messages just in case, you know, later down the road they were found to be important. I don't know.
Finish this loop. Did you delete them?
I deleted the conversations with my 4 daughters. At that time, Allie was not a witness.
All I asked you, you heard my question. Did you or did you not delete the communications with Allie?
Objection.
That's been answered.
You said that there was this statement that horrified you, your words, horrified you, that Terry Roberts made during her interview. She was eavesdropping, right?
I'm not sure if she made it during that interview. I'd have to look back to see when I said she told them everything in bold, because I know she had said it to me multiple times. So I'm not sure if it's when she said it in the interview or just in general, when she said, I told them everything. I told them, etc.
So when you said in that group chat, she's telling them everything, that might not even be what you're talking about.
No, it was.
And you said that horrified you, correct?
I didn't know Kerry Roberts, so yes, her statement horrified me.
Horrified you.
Yes, that was horrifying.
And in that group chat, your response to that horrifying statement was 3 words. I love it.
Was there a response prior to that?
Wait, hold on, wait, what? I thought she was horrified. It's like, I'm so horrified, but... Wait, I'm confused. Can we see the text change, please?
You tell me, ma'am. I'm not the one under oath. You are.
Well, if you want to show me it again, I'd love to get.
Yesterday.
So,
Show us.
Do you have it handy, Mr. Jackson?
I don't know.
No, Mr. Jackson, we want to see the text messages.
It's been
He could be taken out of context.
injured. It was the packet this morning that I
You
did.
gotta always be wary of defense attorneys, you know?
May I approach?
Sure.
69 and the second page, Mr. McCabe, if you would mind. Yes, thank you. During that conversation, when you said she's telling them everything, that came right on the heels of your husband saying this girl could write a book, this woman could write a book or something like that, correct?
correct, she talks nonstop.
Right. Then you said 2 texts down, she's telling them everything.
Correct.
Text just before that was, I love it.
That was in response to my husband saying this girl could write a book.
What's the next thing that you wrote to that group within a second of that?
She is telling them everything.
Right. May I move to the
Sure.
Nowhere in that text chain
So what
did you
is
say
the
something
text
along the lines of, oh my goodness, I'm so horrified, did you?
Those were on phone conversations.
Nowhere in those texts that you just saw, you say the words or write the words, I'm so horrified, did you?
No, because it was already spoken about.
You were asked on that morning, January 29th, 2022, as you drove to the location and ultimately to 34 Fairview. What ultimately happened? Your testimony was, as you approached, my client was searching frantically for John O'Keefe, correct?
I don't believe I said she was searching frantically for John O'Keefe.
Searching frantically.
She was screaming frantically in the back seat and texting in the back seat.
Was she just sitting there, curled up in the back seat, sucking her thumb, or was she searching out the window?
She was screaming between Kerry and I. So I'm not really sure how she saw John over here when her head is up here screaming and then looking down and texting.
Was the whole point of that trip, Ms. McCabe, to search for John?
It was because she knew where he was.
The whole point of that trip was to look for him, correct?
She directed us to go to 34
No.
Fairview.
The whole point of the trip was to look for John, correct?
At 34
Wasn't she the one that was driving, or was it Carrie that was driving? I thought she was the one who was driving.
Fairview, where Karen said to go.
And your testimony is that if it hadn't been for Karen jumping out of that truck, you would have stopped, correct?
Because I wouldn't have seen him. I didn't know he was there. She did.
Yes or no? Was that your statement? If she hadn't gotten out of the car, you wouldn't have stopped.
I don't believe it was stated like that. I believe there was a question and I answered.
And the question was, would you have stopped? And your answer was what?
Was
Oh, Carrie was driving. Okay.
what was the direct
Oh my
question?
goodness, Mr. McCabe, it was 5 minutes ago.
Did he ask, did you see something? You like to change words. I just want to be certain.
So, Mr. Jackson, just keep it to questions, not comments.
You were asked just a second ago by Mr. Lally, if Karen Reed hadn't jumped out of the car, you wouldn't have stopped, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Ms. McCabe,
Oh my God, that was incredibly spicy.
we're finished. Jurors, I'm going to ask you to follow them up.
Oh, I wish we could get into the jurors' minds.
We'll take a recess. And this
No, we are not taking a recess. It's like, I'll let you guys get up and stretch. Wait, is there a recess? Hold on.
one might be a little longer. I need to.
I wonder what his parents think. All right, so what is the court schedule next week? So this week, tomorrow, no court for some reason, and then Friday is a full day. And then next week, there's only trial on Tuesday, right? Somebody, Sarah's in the chat. Hello, Sarah's! Welcome in. Yeah, she did. She said yesterday Karen thought she left him in the bar. Yeah, when she first called.
Start your claim in less than 10 questions.
All right, let's get up and stretch real quick. Oh my goodness, that was fiery. Oh boy. I think defense did a really good job. Prosecution, I thought they did okay in direct, but in redirect, not so much. Man, this chair sucks. Awful. Do this. Okay. Okay, so who's next? Carrie Roberts? Please tell me Carrie Roberts is next. This is Carrie. Carrie Roberts? Yes! All right, let's listen to Carrie Roberts. How long is it? I can't stay for too long. Is it gonna be a long one? Oh god, it's gonna be a long one, I think.
You shall the evidence the court during the case now against the truth, all
All right, Big Mouth Carrie is here.
Thank you. You take the stand.
For Jen McCabe.
All right, Mr. Lilly. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name?
Carrie Roberts, Roberts.
And where do you live, ma'am?
Canton, Mass.
How long have you lived in Canada?
Oh, really? There's no cross of Carrie Roberts? There isn't? Wait, what? She's a huge witness. Okay, I guess it depends on what she's saying.
10 years.
And who, if anyone, do you live in Canada with?
My husband, my 2 children.
And your 2 children, how old are they? And boy, girl.
My son is 12, my daughter's 14.
And do you work, ma'am?
I do.
What do you do?
I'm an executive assistant.
How long have you been doing that?
17 years.
And your husband, Kurt, does he work as well?
Yes.
What does he do for work?
He's a heavy equipment operator.
And how long has he been doing that?
Maybe 20 plus years.
Now, if I could turn your attention to
Why do we need to know that, Mr. Lawley? You already testified.
the evening of January 28th, 2022 into the morning of the 29th. Do you recall those dates? And do you recall what days of the week they were? Do
Say it again.
you recall what days of the week they were?